this, like that. There it is. Export as a PDF. Page. Boop. Perfect. Is okay, let me make sure that my online quiz is posted. So this is not like you're going to have all period to do this. That'd be ridiculous. So from the time that I pass it out, you will have tops 10 minutes to finish it. Okay. I mean, it should not even take 5 minutes, truthfully, but I'm going to be nice and give you up to 10 minutes to fill this out. So I'm going to make sure, like I said, that I have. Right. That's what I thought. Okay. How many are on here? 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Make them each a half, so there's 6, 8, 8, 3, 11, 11, and 12, 23, 24, make it worth 12 points. 12 points. Oh yeah, there's a due date. The due date's today, and the due time for these goons is, what do we got? 9. Let's just make it back.
The two names are the exact same, and I did not catch my essay. I already started writing about the wrong person.
Okay, so who gets this? Kylie does. Braden, Charles, Allie, Amaya. All righty, here we go. Yep, all righty. Clock is a running. Bring it up if you're done with it. And just patiently wait.
You can tell it that's like two right there, right?
Yeah, I can see that. Yep.
For these three, you say like these ones are the evens.
No, that doesn't matter what
That
they are.
doesn't
That's
matter.
they're just referred to that.
Okay.
Yeah. Good. Right. So, how did last night's homework go? How was it? It was hard. All parts of it were hard. Even the first like few. All right, well, let's start looking at them. Okay. Let's start taking a look at these. Escape this. Let me find yesterday's notes. Okay, so yesterday, drag this over. So yesterday I changed this. Of course, I changed the 31 through 71 odds, and this ended up being 32 through 68 multiples of 4. Okay. So we want to go ahead and look at these together. I'm going to put a book here so I can actually have the problems right in front of me. I'm not going back and forth to that sheet. I will gladly do any of these that you want. So we'll just go through this, starting on the first section there, the 19 through 24 section. was the first section on here. Okay. So let's just go ahead and do a couple of these together and see how that goes for us. So number 19 was secant x cosine x. I'm hoping that this one here, this is 19, all you had to do was what? Simplify this using fundamental trig identities. So most likely on this one, what do we know about secant x? I could rewrite that as 1 over the, oh, so it's this, which means it's this, which means the answer is what? It equals 1, okay? I mean, that's like as basic as it gets, using a reciprocal identity on one of them and multiplying. Okay? So now that I've done that, 20 is the same kind of a problem, same idea in a way. What do I do with 20? It's tangent x cosecant x. Tangent x cosecant x. That was bizarre. That was interesting. All right, so this one, tangent quotient identity, it's what? Sine x over cosine x. Cosecant is 1 over sine of x. Cancel, cancel, that's 1 over cosine x, which is secant x. Okay. That's number 20. 20 was A. 21, cotangent cosecant squared. So let's go ahead. Is this. So, thoughts? Cotangent's what? Give me a quotient identity. If it's squared, should the squared affect me at all? It shouldn't. What can I do with this? This is cosine squared x over sine squared x times, or I'm sorry, not times, minus what? 1 over sine squared x. That is cosine squared x minus 1 over sine squared x. Now, when you see cosine squared and 1 together, you should be thinking Pythagorean identity. This identity, this one right here, sine squared x plus cosine squared x equals 1. Any modification of that is going to be true. Okay? So what I could do, if I'm not real good at this yet, is I could just go ahead and say, well, I'm going to replace 1 with what? That. So I would get cosine squared x, but this is where basic algebra skills are important, minus all of this. All right? As soon as I do that, and I start distributing through, I'm going to get a cosine squared x minus a cosine squared x. Boop, gone. So I'm going to get negative sine squared x over sine squared x, which is negative 1. There's a lot of just algebra. When I say algebra, it's just algebraic manipulations, all it is. Okay, substitution, factoring, combining like terms. All of those things are coming together here, all right? Let's do 22. 1 minus cosine squared times cosecant x. Okay, so 1 minus cosine squared. I think I'm looking at the right problem. Yep, times cosecant x. All right. Yep. Yes, it does. This is sine squared x. Again, now you're actually allowed to just put sine squared x there if you know that. If you don't, you would have to replace this with what? Sine squared x plus cosine squared x. One can always be replaced by sine squared x plus cosine. So I'm going to put that. Minus cosine squared x times cosecant x. Cancel, cancel. So now it's really sine squared x times 1 over sine x. Right? What's that give me? Sine x. So it's all about knowing these fundamental identities and being able to substitute things in and then simplify and work with them. What it's all about. All right. Let's jump to number 23. If at any time you have a question, say something. 23 cosine 5 pi over 2 minus x. How's it got that written? Does it have any brackets and okay. And sine of x minus yeah, that's right. Okay. Ugh. That's gross. That was a whole different level. Talk to me. Any ideas? Yeah.
You can kind of use the cosine rules because if it's at least on the cosine one on the top because it's an odd pi over 2 minus x, so it would simplify the sign, right?
So, okay, so wait, on this one up here, which identity are you using?
I don't know. It's the one we learned. Yes.
The co-function identities?
Yes, co-function.
The co-function identities. Okay. Okay, what do you think? Okay, now I could change it to cotangent if these were exactly the same, right? But they're not exactly the same, are they? The way they're written right now, they're not the same. And this is 5 pi over 2 minus x. This is x minus 5 pi over 2. Now, I'm just going to ask this. So the numerator, the cosine, how could I rewrite that using the even-odd identities? What does the even-odd identity say for cosine? It says what? That the cosine of x is equal to the cosine of negative x. You change the sign of this. If I do that up there, what's going to happen? This is going to become a, and that's going to become a, which is going to look just like this then. So the even-odd identity would allow me to take this top part and rewrite it as the cosine of x minus 5 pi over 2 over sine of x minus 5 pi over 2. Okay. Okay, boom. So now I'm at that point. So now if I wanted to, I could do what? I could make a cotangent. Okay. So if I made a cotangent of, I'm taking a bracket here, x minus 5 pi over 2. I don't know why they put that in parentheses too. All right. Now what? Yep. No, because this is not multiplication. This is cosine of this angle. If that was cosine times this, then you could cancel them out. Yeah, but it's not. Okay. What do you guys think? Okay, so here, the only thing I feel like this could be done with this is using the idea of what? Ones we learned yesterday, the co-function identities. Ooh, let's think about this now. Cotangent of, is it okay if I write it like this, negative 5 pi over 2 plus x? Is that okay mathematically? That's fine? All right, so how would I apply the co-function identity to that? What would that become? What was the, let's think about what the so on your quiz, you just had this. If I gave you the cotangent, I'm just going to put a beta. What's the co-function identity to that say? It's the tangent of what? Pi over 2 minus beta. Okay? That's what it says. I have to use that exact same philosophy right here, guys. Same philosophy. Okay? So this would become the tangent of, here we go. It's what? Pi over 2 minus this thing. So that's pi over 2, right? Minus what? All of this. Is that right? So what do I have to do with it? Put it in parentheses? Yes? Okay, guys. Oh man, what's that going to do now? Simplify this for me. What's that going to give me? Tangent of what? What's that? So here I'm going to get how many pi on top? 6 pi? This is going to turn into a plus 5 pi? Isn't it? So 6 pi over 2 is what? 3 pi. And then what? If this is going absolutely nowhere. Any thoughts on that? Talk about it for a second. I need to get, I've got allergies and I got an itchy throat. Let me go ahead and get some water here. Think about that for a second. See if you can tell me something I can do with that next. Or maybe you want to go back and try something else. Remember yesterday what we said, sometimes the route you go doesn't go very far. Ugh. Any thoughts? I mean, we started off on this one by doing an even odd identity for cosine is what we did. So they top and bottom do the same. Then we went to cosine, or I mean cotangent. All right. And then we went to this idea, and we're there.
You could, if you go back to where you have cosine over sine.
So wait, not this one here, you mean?
Yes, the
Okay.
one where it's X.
Let me real quick, I'm just going to take this, group it, just make it a little smaller and just move it off to the side here. So you're back here. So what are you thinking? Isn't this where you're at?
Yes.
Okay.
I was gonna use even odd identities. First, to make cosine, the cosine of x it'd be 5 pi over 2 plus x, and sine would equal sine would equal negative sine of 5 pi over 2 minus x. That.
Okay, wait a second. So when we did this, we did the even odd identity and got to this. So if I were going to do it again, I'd be back here, wouldn't I? Because if I did the even identity of this,
Then you're just
it just becomes negative x plus 5 pi over 2. And that's so it's 5 pi over 2 minus x. That's fine. But if I do the odd identity for this, what happens?
you pull a negative
The negative is out in
front.
front instead.
Yeah.
Because the odd identity says that what? Sine of negative x is equal to negative sine of x is what that one says. That's what the odd identity says.
I feel like if you do that and then start working with co-function principles, you'll start getting a smaller number inside your
Okay.
brackets, so you can simplify eventually to x.
Here's a quick question for you. 5 pi over 2. Where is that? What's that? It's not really in a quadrant. It's what? It's between first and second. It's the exact same place as pi over 2. Isn't 5 pi over 2 equivalent to pi over 2 in every way we've been working with it? Isn't it? So, using the idea of that, let's go ahead real fast. I'm going to just take this and move it over here too. Let's take this guy and move him over here. What if I just said, well, 5 pi over 2 is coterminal to pi over 2? I should be able to replace that and make it a true statement still. It should be true because they're equivalent angles. Their locations are the same. So what if I just wrote this? Cosine of, and I'm going to keep, I hate those parentheses. I'm just going to make it pi over 2 minus x over the sine of, here, this would be what? X minus pi over 2. This is a coterminal angle. What do I like on this one? I like this, don't I? Because that is now a co-function identity, isn't it? So what can I do with, the question is, what do I do with this thing down here now? Yeah.
Do negative sine, negative x plus 5.
Yes. So this stays the same. And this becomes, looks like this should become negative sine of, these have to change. Okay? So it's going to become what? Pi over 2 minus x. So now it looks like I should have what? Was negative cotangent is not even one of my options on here. Because that would be negative what? Cotangent, wouldn't it? But that's the negative cotangent of pi over 2 minus x, which now I have to use the what? Co-function identities. What's this equal to? The negative tangent of x. Now, I'll just be honest with you. That one's harder because you don't think of 5 pi over 2 being the same as pi over 2. But they're the same angles. They're coterminal angles. Okay? So that's kind of a trick question the way they wrote that. I won't do that to you on a quiz or a test. Okay? That's kind of a trick the way they did that to you. All right. So that was harder. That one was. 24 is not as bad. Cotangent of over the cosine of x. Okay? The first thing I do not like is that. So cotangent negative x becomes what? Negative cotangent of x over cosine x. Now, some people struggle with this. Okay? Think about what this is. This is really this, guys. That's what this is equivalent to this. This is a fraction thought now. I'm thinking fractionally. Now I can write this as a quotient, which is what? Negative cosine x over sine x times 1 over cosine x. Oh my goodness, the cosines do what? Bloop, bloop. So now I get negative 1 over sine x, which becomes negative cosecant x. Okay? All right. And this is all about really knowing those identities. And it's also, I mean, there's a lot of what? Just mathematical skill that has nothing to do with the identities. Understanding this is the same as this, and knowing how to multiply fractions. And basic things like that we're calling upon again. Basic arithmetic skills in a way. We need to be able to use those still. All right. Okay, so I'm not going to do all of these. So 25 through 30, let's choose one of those. Let's choose one of 25 through 30. And don't do 30. I don't want to do another one of the pi over 2 ones right now. So 25 through 29. Damiano, is there one of those you want to look at? 29. Secant squared x minus 1. Over, what do we got here? Sine squared x. Love it. Okay, so immediately that top one screams Pythagorean identity to me. Because there is a Pythagorean identity that says 1 plus tangent squared x equals secant squared x, which means I could replace secant squared x with what? 1 plus tangent squared x. That's what I'm going to do. So this is going to get replaced with 1 plus tangent squared x minus 1 over sine squared x. Oh, that's nice because the ones cancel out. So now I have what? Tangent squared x. I'm going to rewrite this as times 1 over sine squared x. Is that okay? You understand that hopefully. Because you're going to get tangent squared x over this. Right? Now what do I do with this? Rewrite it as what? Sine squared x over cosine squared x times 1 over sine squared x. Cancel, cancel. 1 over cosine squared x is going to be equal to secant squared x. All right? Secant squared x. All right, let's keep going here. Let's choose a problem on, let's go to like section 47 through 56. So you guys were supposed to do, let's see, what problems in there would you have done? 48, 52, and 56. So let's choose one of those, 48, 52, or 56. Owen, 48, 52, or 56? Oh my goodness, when we come back, oh, Tell me now, Owen, which one do you think you want? 52? Okay. So when we come back, we're going to do 52. 6 cosine squared x. 5 cosine x. We'll do that when we come back. Mr. Gwynn, how are you doing, sir? Yeah. We're doing a little, Can I say? And that's it. Exactly. Yeah. But I know it's also, I can do it's something that part. There's right. Right. What are you doing over here? Oh my goodness. I'm sure she's this is just she did email like 4:17 this morning. I'm thinking to myself, you know, people wasn't really right. So I think that it must be real. Yeah. Had that come in last night like at 8 o'clock? There might be a little more suspicious about the weather forecast. Yeah. So that was about 2:30 or 4:30. Okay. All right. I mean, it's not to store anything stitches, right? Well, oh, heck yeah. Why not? Now that I've rated Karen's snack cabinet. Ooh. When are you guys moving? We are closing on the new house June 1st and getting the keys on June 18th. So are you guys usable? You guys like using stuff? The reason I ask is I have an in-law that's moving. Check out one way. Downsizing quite a bit. They have Yamaha like full-size 40. And with like Z-tiers, the foot pedals, all of it, totally free. That's so cool. I'm trying, I told myself, I'll try to find some good ones. Yeah, I would love it. I went over there and made sure they work. Hey, it's got the tempo button, it's got tempos of all those things, the different sounds. I'm sure they can get a penny for that. I don't think they don't want you to sell it. They're moving section. And they don't close on the house though until June 7th. So that's why. Well, ask you one. Just ask one. Just run faster. Like I said, only 3. I'll help you get it there. Whatever. Yes, he's actually Springboro. You can easy move over. Is your wife waiting for you? Do you play the order? I'm not. The kids though might want to someday. You could. Baseball game. You could have church in the basement. Oh my goodness. You don't. She's another one we're at. Any boy might want to do. It don't matter if I have like. Anything else? Lunch. Oh, lunchtime. Brunch. Early or late? Like one of those. None of them are good for me. I don't like any of them. This year I got the 6. That's actually the best one. It's really good. Or was after testing yesterday, like 12:45. Those days, I'm like, eating at 12:30. Oh yeah. And you're like, staring at the clock. I know. We're like, what is this? I really wish you were 2 hours ago. Myself out of the program. I know, I agree. It's very good. You make.
So for leadership, we still an interview.
Okay.
And you told me after the teacher, can I interview you?
Sure, when?
It's due Monday.
New Monday.
Yeah.
When are you interviewing? You
Could we do it after school on Monday? Is that good?
Are you doing Monday?
Yeah, it's due like midnight. Yeah,
I haven't built the lead, but people will write away.
okay.
It won't take that long, will it?
No, I just had to ask you one.
That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah,
thank
whatever, yep. I need to do that today, I forgot. I need to do that today. Let's take a break here and do that. Sha-da-da-dee-dee-dee-dee. Okay, where am I at? Okay, is everybody back? It looks like they are. So let's go ahead and look at this one, and then in about 15 minutes, we're going to have to switch gears for a second for something you have to do next year. So I'm going to have to do that. Let's go ahead and do this. Here we go. So this one here is like a different pay scale. Okay, so before I do this, and I don't know if you guys know who I was just talking to outside, as Mr. Glendon. He's the one that teaches Calc 1. And he looked at me and he goes, oh my gosh. He goes, did they realize that's the kind of stuff they have to do next year? I said, yeah, I think I told him that. Like calculus is all about the algebra. It's not about the calculus, it's the algebra that's the hard part that you have to come back and use. So that's what we're trying to do, is strengthen those skills right now somewhat. I'm going to write something above this, and I want you to look at it. How many of you could take that red polynomial and factor it for me? Factoring it as the product of two binomials. Okay, so let's see here. Let's try this. So we'll just try it this way, 3x and 2x. Looks like maybe this here, I could put 2, if I put a 2 here and a 3 here, that's not, yep, that's good, boom, and a 3. Make this a plus and this a minus. Now you're going, how the heck did you just do that? Well, we just thought it through. So here's my 6x squared, here's my minus 6, this is 9x minus 4x, which is 5x, right? If that factors like this, this factors as well. This factors as 3 cosine x minus 2 if I wanted to, and what? 2 cosine x plus 3. Now, I'm saying that on this problem because next year, potentially, you would have to be able to do that. So when we did this way back when in what? September? Is that when we did quadratics? And you were factoring? That concept is still going to be needed. We say, by the way, that this is in quadratic form. And how do I recognize it's in quadratic form? Because it goes squared. This is the second degree, first degree, and the what? Constant term. So it's in quadratic form. Okay? All right, now let's go ahead and talk about this problem. It says, factor the expression. Boom, we did it. Does it go any further? No, it's done. That's it. We factored it. You have to be able to see this like this in your head. They're the same ideas when it comes to factoring. All right? Let's do one from 61 to 66. So what did you have there? You could have done what? So you would have done 60 up there. So what? The only thing you had to do there was 64. Is that right? Is 64 the only one I asked you to do? Yeah? Let's do 64 together. Let's do 64. Here we go. And after this, we're going to have to change gears. You're going to need your Chromebooks for something today. Hopefully you have it. 64 says tangent x plus cosine x over 1 plus sine x. And here's what the instructions say. They say, hey, perform the addition or subtraction and use the fundamental identities to simplify. All right. They want us to add these together. Combine them. So the first thing I'm going to do on this, okay, is I'm going to take this and rewrite it as sine over cosine. So I get sine x over cosine x plus cosine x over 1 plus sine x. All right? Now, before I go any further, here we go. Let's go back to fractions. What's that? 4th, 5th grade, maybe? Something like that? Probably you do fractions for the first time. Okay? Let's say I gave you 2/3 plus, I don't know, how about 3/5. Right? How are you always able to get a common denominator? Yeah, I mean, you can always find a common denominator by using these and just multiplying them. So this fraction would become a 3 times 5 in the bottom, and this would become a 3 times 5 in the bottom. Now, what would this numerator become? 2 times what? 2 times 5, right? And this would become 3 times 3. Okay, now that same thought process is going to go on right here. That means my common denominator is going to be cosine x times 1 plus sine x. All right. What's going to go on up here? What's going to be the new numerator for the first fraction? It's going to be sine x times what? 1 plus sine x. The second one is going to be what? Cosine x times cosine x. Now we have to start simplifying this. Okay. Distribute through on the top one. This, what am I going to get? Sine x plus sine squared x plus cosine squared x. all over cosine x times 1 plus sine x. The bottom, I am not going to distribute that through. Are we okay with what just happened there? Okay, great. What do I notice? That's a Pythagorean identity. What does it equal? 1. So on the top, I get what? Sine x plus 1, which is the same as 1 plus sine x. Oh, look. Those are the exact same. Shoot. What am I left with? 1 over cosine x, which is secant x. So that thing right there is equivalent to secant x. Woo! I just see a bunch of like, oh boy. Yeah. Now, truthfully, how much of trig identities did I use there? How many trig identities did I even use in that entire thing? Didn't I use 2? I used Pythagorean identity here, and at the very end, I used the reciprocal identity. I used 2 identities in this entire thing. Everything else was based upon just having good algebra skills. Being able to work with algebraic expressions and manipulate them correctly. That's the challenge you face. And that's the challenge you're going to face next year. Okay? So we need those things. You need to say, oh my God, I got to get better at this again. I got to go back and revisit all the stuff. All right. Quick break. We got to do this right now. So this is for you if you were taking either Calc 1 or Calc 1 and 2 next year. And when we talked about scheduling in here, hopefully you remember what you signed up for, okay? You have to enroll for that. So we're going to go ahead and do that right now. So let me go ahead and find the link that you're going to need. If you're online paying attention to me, you should be doing this as well. Okay. This is from Mitter. Mitter. Posters. No. Where's it at? No. Ah, here it is. I got to see what this is real fast. Okay. So I'm going to put this on my Google Classroom. So you're going to want to go to the classroom and you're going to go to the streaming section of that. Okay. Please fill this out if intending to take Calc 1 or Calc 1/2 through Wright State University. You're taking it through Wright State University, okay? So please understand this. Let me do this. Copy this link address. I'm going to put it in here. Add a link. And the link. Okay. So, let me put that in the 7th period as well so they can see it. All right. So if you're right now, it should be updating. It says it's updating. It's posting. Okay. So now if you go back, you will see this. Okay. Let's have you go over there and stay this time. Right here, please fill out this if intending to take Calc 1 or Calc 1/2, both through Wright State. This Google form right here. Required email address. Okay. Boom, 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 boom. Please complete this form, and it's tired of this form is due by April 1st. This is a soft deadline. This is not mandatory by April 1st. Okay. So please, please, please do that. Okay, so good question. Here we go. So I think on the first one here, hold on, let me go back to my emails. One of them, yeah. You filled it out for a different class you're taking College Credit Plus with? Okay, so you're wondering if you did this already. Does it ask what class that you'd be taking? So maybe you only, if you've already done this, you probably don't have to do this again. This is information for us, for the school. So I would use your school email address. And if you filled it out once, you fill it again, it's not going to matter. So to be on the safe side, just fill it out no matter what. Okay. If they get 2 copies of it, they're not going to be upset about that. That's okay. All right. While you're doing that, I'm going to go to classes here, and we're going to put something else up here. After that, we're going to do copy link address. Boom, boom. Yeah. Yes. So you have the right state one now?
Yeah, I'm on the next page.
Oh, of this, you're on the next page.
Yeah, yeah.
Sandy, what was it? What did it ask you?
It just for the class you're taking and stuff like that. It's a CC cover. So just what's that?
This is off campus. Please list class in college. So that's the same thing you just put
Yeah.
there.
So should I just write that in?
You change the required questions for something there.
I just put NA.
Yeah, because I don't think that's, you don't need that.
Yeah.
It's not taking the.
We just put our friends.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, once you're done with this one, okay, that's the first step. The second step, you refresh this, is actually doing this, having to go to right statement rule. Okay? So you're gonna have to do this. You must, when you do this, you must use an email that is not your school email here. Because you will not be able to receive right state emails to your school email. So you have to use your own personal email. You might want to create a new email strictly for that purpose. Maybe you want to create one that's called like Owen.Broxma CCP at Google, at gmail.com. You might want to create a new one. What's that? That's what this part here is going to be. You're going to create one here. You have to go ahead and take care of all of that. Okay, so you're doing the create an account right here. You did this up here, right? Just like your name. Put your name in there. Yeah,
I'm taking AP stats. I don't need it.
correct. Because AP Stats is not a class like that. Yes, you're only doing this if you're doing Calc 1 or Calc 1-2 next year. Okay. Inbox. Delete. Whoa, what is this about? Say that again? Will they have the textbooks? Does Mitter or Gwynn have textbooks? I don't know if they have textbooks or not, to tell you the truth. Great.
Yes, it does.
Oh, shit.
I'm taking college classes with them. So just so you know.
Yeah, I took 200 this year.
He said that it shows up on the transcript for college. It doesn't actually say. So they can see that like the grade got a class, but like it doesn't start. It might be because it was saved.
Yeah, look what it says.
It's like,
Oh, yeah.
All right, that's a fine. So we'll do that. Oops.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got everything up to the application instructions where I need my certificate.
Okay, that's fine. You're the way to do it.
I'm like, yeah, since you're technically applying to get in the right state.
I just thought we had great.
I double check because sometimes there's different applications for specifically college credit students.
What's that? Yes. Yeah, because you're actually enrolling to be a student, is what you're doing.
You don't just, they still get a decide if they want you or not, but it's like.
What was your goal to be, 21st? Just put like June. Well, you know, it doesn't mean exact.
Oh, no, there's not. Unless you're like.
No, you don't. That's it. Oh, that's a junior. Like you're like Riley Junior. Riley. So they don't feel like your dad. Yeah. Well, because they both have the same. You know, my birthday.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. That's good. That's good. You guys are doing that. All right.
How do you know yours? I don't know much of yours. You don't. What you saying? But you have to put that in.
What's that?
It's
Saying it's required.
It is required.
But that's not what I think.
It doesn't.
What do we have for the Ohio budget?
They're US. It's born in the
Where's that one at?
Am I a veteran? Yes.
Yes, I did, you know, that was one. He's up in Boston. Living up there.
Yes.
Actually, all of you. Hispanic or
Yep.
You know, you can just.
Yeah.
Yeah, I said none.
Oh, yeah.
There's all these other things. This ain't active.
It's your mailing address. Wait.
This I'm in the student.
I mean, I think they were the same with us. Reading.
Consecutive months.
Yeah. We have like a PO box.
So this is.
I don't think you need to.
I mean, you don't need it.
I see.
So did you do the yes, I'm independent student?
United States.
Oh, there it is. Did you say
Address? You don't remember?
Yeah. Who has that home phone anymore?
There's one. We put like 10 in the wire.
What if you were Amish? You didn't have an email or anything.
You said you probably do it through mail. Yeah, you have to give them your mailing information to the letter.
Yeah.
So I've gotten down to. I just put my home phone to see what he gets. You did it.
No, you just put the 18th. Okay, that
United States.
doesn't matter.
No, yeah. No, you're
South 13. Yeah. Wait. Patrick's line.
Yeah.
Yeah. Somebody said it.
Estimate.
2022.
I forgot about the middle school students.
Fall 2022.
A city. Would you ever put a city in there? I did.
No.
I think it's general.
Summer?
Is the permanent address the same? I'm not saving the. I'm gonna create these. That's it. Really suck it. What is your highest level of hurry up. Nice to hear you. I'm gonna say that. We're just at the doctor. I just want to go for that.
Semester,
Did you need to campus by
Semester still allowing apples.
right?
Is it close?
Yeah. See, and. When there's there.
Wait, no. School is
Yeah, for like. I'm and I am a high school senior.
graduation date.
Really not a date. Okay. It's years you plan to, I don't know. But I want to do the late one. But if I did the late campus, I could.
I know mine. So, oh, wait, what's this?
I have to visit.
I don't know. I don't know.
If that was like, I used to like, I was like, right.
All right, so real quick, this is, before you leave, copy these down. Over the weekend, I want you to try these 4 problems. Notice it says verify. Yesterday in the notes, we did some questions where they were verifying. That's where you're only allowed to work on one side of the equation. You're not solving it. You're not moving things from left to right. Okay? So again, work on one side. Okay? You can choose a side. You can pick the left or the right. That's up to you. Okay? I just want you to try this. So what you're going to do is you're going to try to make it look the same on both sides. Again, you're not moving things from left to right. You're not doing the same thing to both sides. Like I'm not going to add 5 to both sides. You're not solving this. You are simply changing the appearance of a side to make it look like the other side. Okay? Please try those 4 problems over the weekend. Just put June 10th like that of 2023. Whatever. I guess if you're done with it. And then you're going to be watching for an email. You also, guys, you should get a letter, an actual letter in the mail. And when you get that, make sure you hold on to it because at the very top, it's going to have your student ID for Wright State. It'll give you a student ID number, and you need to know what that is. You got to hold on to that. So again, when you get that email from Wright State, okay, you're going to want to hold on to that letter. It will have your student ID. Okay. Okay, so Brady wasn't here today. And then and then Stacy wasn't here today. And
I'm just saying. Yeah, same one. Is that for-
what? Don't give me that.
Have you ever been dismissed? Have you ever been convicted?
Have a good weekend, everybody.
No, you felt like.
Elemental.
Yeah, I finished. Yeah, no, I mean, you gotta figure something. What's your birthday? Happy day. That's your birthday.
I haven't read that.
So today, so this.
You got it. Right on.
Mr. Snyder, how long does it take him to email us?
I don't know. I really don't know. Every year it's a new experience where things don't seem to go right. What's that? We've had people that like they never received the stuff at Wright State, and we know they filled it out. It's yeah. But but the counselors here are involved with this too. That's why you filled out that Google form at the beginning. So they're contacting and using that to find out who signed up, who hasn't, and then it all comes. I don't know. It's a mess. It's a mess. That's all I'll say. I really think that they need to have like a meeting and just say, guys, bring your Chromebooks to the auditorium. We're all going to do this at the same time. And they answer the questions. It'd be so much better. See you guys.